lose the gorilla, what next?
Everyone and anyone, I don't care. I'm not scared of anyone. No one. Yeah, people asking me, you might deserve a title shot after this fight. No, I won't. I haven't beat anyone. I need to beat all these. They're all getting it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the gorilla, Darren Till.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 42 of Combat Docket Radio. As always, this is Kurt and Ben, here to bring you everything going on in the MMA world this week. What's up, Ben?
Not a lot. I am feeling well, feeling healthy, and ready to talk about some MMA.
Yeah, so we got a big card coming up this weekend. Tyron Woodley, Darren Till, UFC 228. And that's pretty much it, you know, for big promotions going on this weekend. So we could definitely devote a lot of time to this 228 card. Headlined, Tyron Woodley, as I said, versus Darren Till. Darren Till getting that huge fast push, especially, you know, missing weight in his last fight. What do you think about fight cancellation day? Is Darren Till going to make it smoothly, or do you think he's going to have any problems? Because he did that interview a couple days ago where he was like, I don't know, he's getting pretty testy when they were asking him about his weight cut. You think it's going to be smooth, or you think we're going to have some drama?
You know, I'm always rooting for the drama. I think it'll be smooth, right? Because he hasn't, I mean, even his last fight, he missed weight. But I don't know if he hasn't been like a guy that's pulled out of a fight the day before or anything like that. So I think likely it'll be smooth.
But he's also never fought for a title.
That's true.
A random fight missing weight is like, all right, whatever. Yeah. But a title fight?
And I've also heard him in interviews talking about moving up to middleweight and all this stuff. So yeah, and did you hear as well, related to that they're having Kamaru Usman like do his medicals and weigh in and whatnot?
Yeah, so that was actually my next question, or I guess it ties into this, but I'm wondering if, you know, Kamaru Usman is going to be a factor. But I did hear an interview with, I think it was like last week on Ariel's MMA show. Tyron Woodley was basically saying that under no circumstances is he going to fight Kamaru Usman, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, Kamaru Usman's there for a reason. He's getting paid, like you said, to do his medicals. He's going to make weight like a normal fight on championship weight. So, I mean, again, that could get interesting if Darren Till does miss weight. You know, you got to come to an agreement then with Tyron Woodley and Kamaru Usman. It could become a big clusterfuck. Hoping not. Yeah, Kamaru Usman's going to be there on weight, we assume. Imagine if they both miss weight. Fucking craziness.
I mean, Tyron Woodley is somebody I trust a ton. Not only do I trust Tyron Woodley to show up to the fight, but I also believe him when he says that he would not accept a fight against Usman, because that very much seems like something that, you know, he bargains hard. I feel like Woodley would absolutely put his foot down on taking like a last minute, a 24-hour notice replacement. But I'm sure Darren Till would fight Kamaru Usman for some sort of interim title that they just took away from Colby Covington if Woodley pulled out.
But like you said, I don't really have any concerns whatsoever about Tyron Woodley making weight. I think the interesting thing is going to be, you know, Darren Till and how he makes weight. That he's a massive dude. But again, I mean, if they have this backup plan with Kamaru Usman, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I could see Tyron Woodley putting his foot down, taking a stand, but that's definitely not going to make the UFC happy. But let's hope that we don't get to that point. Let's hope Darren Till makes it there, makes weight okay, and he's healthy, and we get this fight. Because this is an interesting fight, which leads us to the actual fight. How do you see this fight going? Is this too soon for Darren Till, or do you think he's ready for this?
I mean, I guess we'll find out. I think it's a little too soon for him. But at the same time, you know, his last two fights were against Donald Cerrone, who was on quite the run at welterweight, and, you know, Stephen Thompson, who fought for the title twice. So, you know, I guess it makes sense in the arc of his career, but I think, like, athletically and skill wise, I think it's too soon for him. I actually think we're gonna have yet another stinker Tyron Woodley fight, because, you know, Darren Till kind of approaches the game the same way that Stephen Thompson does. Obviously not the same way that Damian Maia does, but I think Woodley's going to outpoint him, get some takedowns here and there. But generally speaking, I think we're looking at another like boring fight, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think that this fight is good. Has all the makings of being a stinker. Tyron Woodley has no problem fighting smart, fighting very cerebrally, which you can't fault him for. A lot of people do. And I've been a big critic of his in the past. And again, this is a big fight against a big man in Darren Till, who, like you said, Darren Till, we saw it in the Wonderboy fight. He fought very strategically, and it really, and some people's, I didn't mind the fight too much. I thought it was a pretty nice chess match. A lot of people weren't big fans of it, and I think this is going to turn into that. Same thing again. Maybe Woodley mixes in a couple takedowns, tries to grind Till out, maybe against the fence. If he does get him on his back, hold position, pop shot him a little bit. And then on the feet, I think the onus is going to be on Darren Till to close the distance and get inside on Woodley. And, I don't know, man. I could see also Darren Till, like you said, just sitting there at range. And these guys just kind of firing off 1-2 shots at a time and not really mixing it up too much. And then it comes down to maybe those last 2 rounds with whoever wants it more. Maybe you can steal the round in the last 30 seconds. I like the style matchup, but I'm leaning towards it being a stinker.
Yeah. And I should say, I think it'll be low output. I think for people like you and me, maybe, I often find these fights like compelling or interesting, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of boos. I think that I think Till is going to pressure Woodley for most of this fight, right? And I think Woodley, as we've seen, has no problem just backing immediately up into the fence, which it's always weird when his coaches are always yelling at him to get off the fence. And it just seems like Woodley is so comfortable fighting that way. It seems like it's his plan A every time to just back himself into the fence.
And he's the champ too. So, you gotta take the belt away from the champ.
Apparently. Do you think Till will just crash the distance on Woodley if he can get his back to the cage?
I feel like that's the $1 million question. Darren Till is going to have to close the distance, and
he has to commit.
He has to commit. Exactly. Yeah. And for most of that Stephen Thompson fight, he was not willing to do that. Different fighter, different fight. But yeah, to win this title, he's going to have to do that because, as we've said, Tyron Woodley is 100% okay with playing at range, pot shotting, backing against the cage, doing what he has to do to win the fight. I think, again, the onus is on Darren Till to really bring the fight to Woodley.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of Woodley's game, is to put the obligation on his opponent to make an action, and then Woodley responds to that. So I think, and Darren Till did at times against Stephen Thompson fully commit, and he did not look particularly good doing it. I think when he does, it's not necessarily that he closes the distance, but commits to attacking. When Till commits fully to attacking Woodley, he does open himself up a little bit for just a straight right hand. I think Woodley has some pretty underrated boxing, and I definitely think Till has never faced a wrestler anywhere close to Woodley's abilities. So when Till commits, he's also going to put himself open for a takedown. And I think we will see Woodley at least try a couple takedowns. I know he's not like a grinder per se, but he's a great takedown artist, great wrestler, and really, really good top control. So that's a long way to say I'm picking Woodley to edge it out. I think there's going to be a few, I think there will be at least one round that Woodley wins entirely on the feet, just because it'll be such a low output fight and he'll catch Till with 1 or 2 big shots. But I also think Woodley's going to get a couple takedowns in there and get a decision victory here.
Man, this is a tough one for me. While I tend to agree with you, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with Darren Till. Again, it's tough because, like I said before, you have to beat the champ to be the champ. I think they're just really high on Darren Till. And again, I'm not saying that's going to sway the judges either way, but I don't know. Darren Till just has that it factor for me. He's like the dude. The buzz is all around him. We kind of forget that Tyron Woodley's a champion. It almost feels like Francis Ngannou going into that Stipe Miocic fight. You remember going into that fight, he was the dude. All the attention was around him, And yeah, he did not perform. And then, you see the tailspin off of that. I don't know. I think Darren Till is going to find a way. I think he's going to have his outbursts and his attacks when needed. He's going to seal a couple close rounds. I see it being like a 3-2, 2-3 split decision for Darren Till and New. But I would not be surprised whatsoever if Tyron Woodley won this fight. I hope it delivers. I have a bad feeling we're going to get a stinker on Saturday.
I think both of them fight pretty low output, and I think both of them have concerns about their gas tanks, so they purposely fight at a slow pace. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like other fighters moving forward are going to try to test Darren Till's gas tank, and people are always going to try to test Woodley's gas tank. But both those guys, they slow down the fight, And Till he's like really good at setting a range and setting a rhythm to the fight. But yeah, just like what we talked about before, he's going to have to commit fully on an attack at points. He's going to expose himself. Agreed,
man. Moving down on the card, the co-main event, Nicco Montano defends her flyweight title for the first time against Valentina Shevchenko. Nicco Montano. Has there ever been a champion that's been this big of an underdog going into a fight as Nicco Montano is?
The only person I can think of, and I'll try to look it up while we're talking, might be Matt Serra.
Matt Serra?
But now, man, Shevchenko is as high as minus 1650 on one book.
And you know what, Ben? I agree 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, I agree. I think this is, again, Nicco is the champion. She pulled off some upsets, in that house. Great story, but she has never fought anyone like Valentina Shevchenko, nor was anyone in that house as good as Valentina Shevchenko. I think this is a really tough fight for her and a big, big step up. Man, I don't think this is going to be very pretty for Nicco in this fight. She's a tough girl, but I just think Valentina is just better everywhere. And you think of Valentina as just this badass striker, which she is, but she has some wrestling and she has some grappling too. And that's just another layer of problems you have to deal with her against her in there. Yeah, I'm all Valentina here. I think she stops Nicco within the distance. I think it's going to be depending on how quick she wants to end it.
Well, before I get to that, I'll tell you, to put in perspective how big of a favorite Shevchenko is. She's in the like minus 1400 range. When Matt Serra defended his belt against GSP at UFC 83, GSP was only a minus 400 favorite then. So
wow.
So that gives you an idea. I think this is a closer fight than the lines make it out to be. But I think if I would think of Shevchenko as more of a minus 500, minus 600 favorite, which is still a pretty big favorite in MMA. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, Montano, she fights with like pace and urgency, and she has a great gas tank and does really good work in the clinch. But I think.
But do you want to clinch with Valentina Shevchenko?
No, so I was getting to that. So I think if she wants to even get close, she doesn't have really very good entries to that clinch, and I think she'll get just absolutely demolished in that middle range. I mean, because Roxy, like in the pocket, got to Nicco Montano. So if Roxanne Modafferi can, then certainly Valentina Shevchenko can. And then if she does get it to the clinch, then yeah, I think Shevchenko can sweep her and put her on her back. I think she'll win the clinch. I think Shevchenko wins all those clinch battles, and I think Montano just gets absolutely chewed up in like the middle range when she kind of lunges for the clinch. I think Shevchenko finishes her. But I do think Montano deserves a little bit more credit. She is a very good fighter, and she does a lot of things well, but not enough here to get any sort of like, I don't know. I don't see her winning a round if it goes past 3 or 4 even.
So let me ask you this, just what is the best possible way for Nicco to pull off a win here, if there was any possible way? Best case scenario, like how does she get a win here?
She'd have to fucking grind out Shevchenko, or maybe, I think Shevchenko has kind of suspect grappling overall. I think that's certainly her weakest. Like, she's very athletic and tight on the ground. I mean, maybe Montano could get her back in a certain position. That seems super unlikely, but maybe the most likely case if she actually wins, right? Because I don't see her getting a decision off Shevchenko. Do you?
No, I just, again, I don't think that, you know, she, like you said, she puts a good pace on. She's a tough girl. She's good in the clinch, but again, that's not where you want to be against Shevchenko.
No.
I mean, Shevchenko can sit in the outside and pick her apart. I mean, Shevchenko's got good trips. She's got good takedowns. I think she does really good damage on top. I guess I could see that being the only really way is just finding some sort of submission, or maybe, I don't know, clipping Valentina. This is a really tough fight for Nicco. I don't really see many ways for her to get a win here. Honestly, I think this fight goes as long as Valentina wants it to go. You know, Nicco might be in it early. She's a tough girl, but I think Valentina picks her apart. I think Valentina is going to mix in some takedowns when it does get close. She's going to do damage on top like she did against Priscilla Cachoeira. And I'm not saying Nicco is anything like Priscilla, but again, you know, Valentina does some damage on top. You just look at Valentina's, just her resume, the fighters she's fought. She's fought just absolute studs in her career. It's just such a big step up for Nicco. But again, I mean, she's been the underdog for a while now, so she could surprise us all, but I highly doubt it. I got Valentina winning within the first 3 rounds, if not 2. I think Valentina gets her out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Shevchenko will finish her like in the 3rd or 4th. And you know what I think? This might sound awful, but I think it's going to be one of those fights where Shevchenko is beating up Montano on the feet for an extended period of time, and then Montano is eventually going to get it to like the clinch, or maybe she'll even get a takedown, and Rogan will be like, this is now Montano has a chance. Now this is Montano's world. And then Shevchenko will just immediately reverse her or take her down or something, like, oh, she's also going to be losing in these positions as well.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't really see anywhere in this fight where she is going to excel.
No. Maybe cardio, but Shevchenko, I mean, she has a lot of 5-round experience.
She does, man. I think Nicco just hits a wall anywhere you go. Yeah. But hey, man, there's crazier things have happened. And that would be crazy if she does pull this off. It would make a lot of people eat their words, including us, but I can't see it happening. I think Valentina is going to have gold come Saturday around her waist.
Yeah, seems very likely.
Moving down, Brandon Davis is the savage that stepped up to fight Zabit. Again, savage. We applaud Brandon Davis for stepping up. Good, man. I am super happy that Zabit is still fighting. I wish we were getting to see that Yair Rodriguez fight. Sadly, we aren't. I mean, Brandon Davis is a tough dude, man. Kind of like Kyle Bochniak, who Brandon Davis actually fought. But Kyle Bochniak made Zabit work. That was one of the best fights of the year, honestly. But yeah, Brandon Davis is a tough dude. He's gonna make Zabit work, but that's tough fighting Zabit in what, 10 days notice, 11 days notice. When they actually signed, because they signed only the fight, what, like 4, 5, 6 days ago?
It was very recent. I know that much.
Yeah, man. Zabit is a savage. That guy is super fun to watch. Yeah, props to Brandon Davis. That's really all I can say. Because Zabit is a savage, and I am super happy we're getting to see him still fight.
Yeah, agreed. And I think even like on a full camp, this is just a really good stylistic matchup for Zabit, because Brandon Davis will like definitely like exchange with him just freely on the feet. I think the most underrated part of Zabit's game is his pocket boxing, and I think they're going to exchange, and I think Zabit's going to win that battle. I also think Zabit's going to like throw some fucking awesome kicks on the outside and probably take him down. Brandon Davis does not have great takedown defense at all. But yeah, I think stylistically Davis is going to give Zabit the fight he wants, and I think it's going to look really cool. I think it's going to be a good fight. Definitely an action fight.
Yeah. Zabit is what, like 15 in the rankings or something now? 14, 15?
He's 15. 15.
So what I'm getting at is, I mean, we both assume that Zabit is going to beat Brandon Davis this weekend. I think that would be a huge, huge upset if he doesn't. Like, how far do you think Zabit should step up if and when he does win this fight?
I mean, I don't know what the deal is with Yair Rodriguez, but I think this maybe puts him a little bit past that. Yair Rodriguez is number 14. They could always try to rebook that fight, I suppose. Does Volkanovski have an opponent? He's coming off a win.
Isn't Volkanovski still like 9 or 10 or something crazy like that?
He's number 11.
Jesus.
I mean, featherweight's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Featherweight's crazy right now.
It is.
I'm looking at guys. I mean, Cub Swanson is number 7, but I think like if they want to do him against like Volkanovski, if he wins, I'm fine with that. Both those guys are prospects that need to fight each other at some point.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Basically what I'm getting at is, we were supposed to get Yair Rodriguez, which would have been a big test. Brandon Davis is going to make it fun, but I think Zabit dispatches him in a fun fight. It's going to look cool, like you said, but I think after this, he's ready for a step up. So we'll see where he goes from there. Volkanovski would be fun. Tough fight for Cub, but Cub would be fun. Big step up, big name. Maybe go after that Yair fight again. Because I still think Yair would have been a big test for him, and I would not have counted Yair out. Yair lost to Frankie Edgar, and everyone was digging the grave for him. I don't think that's an easy fight for Zabit by any means. No,
not at all. And I'm sad we didn't get to break it down because I would like to talk about some of the things that Rodriguez brings to the table that I think really Zabit, maybe Brandon Davis might be able to test his gas tank if he can take it to the later rounds, but obviously Yair would for sure test his gas tank.
Yeah, agreed. Should be interesting. I think Zabit is, a guy to watch, a guy to keep your eye on. He's must-see TV, and I'm glad they kept him on the main card.
Yeah, that's the best thing. I thought, remember when they first announced the UFC Russia show, I thought they were going to push him huge at that. Apparently not. But yeah, it's good that they're giving him a little bit of a push here.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be the main event of that card. Honestly, I would have rather seen him, a little bit off topic, but I would have rather seen him in the main event of that card than Alexei Oleinik. Alexei Oleinik's an OG, but damn, imagine Zabit in a big fight main eventing that card.
That's a super weird main event because how many fights does Oleinik have left in his fucking career, his life? The guy's like 43, like
with like 70 fights under his belt.
This is what they're bringing to Russia is Alexei Oleinik doing fucking
against 45-year-old Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah, a little off topic.
Whatever. All right. Steer back. Jessica Andrade fighting Karolina Kowalkievicz. Big fight in the women's strawweight division. I think this is a terrible matchup for Karolina. Andrade is an absolute beast. I mean, the pressure she puts on, she's strong, she's powerful, great grappler. Karolina is like a technician to me. She's slick, she's sharp, but I just don't see her being able to match that physicality that Andrade brings to the table. You got to think, the winner of this fight is going to fight Rose next. Karolina has a win over Rose. Andrade with the big win is going to vault herself into that picture, especially coming off that Carla Esparza fight, which was a phenomenal fight. But yeah, man, I think here just Andrade is going to be too much for Karolina.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the rankings right now, and legitimately, I don't think Kowalkiewicz could get a worse style matchup in the entire top 15 of women's strawweight than Jessica Andrade. Like, this is just worst case scenario. Because actually, I don't think Kowalkiewicz is actually that technical or like slick necessarily. She's just a scrapper. She's like a super high output scrapper. And well, I do think she's actually super technical and slick inside the clinch. But like, she has nowhere near the physicality to compete with Andrade in that type of like high output scrappy fight. We saw, remember when Gaudelha just immediately took down Karolina Kowalkiewicz and submitted her, and it was like, oh, that's what she's like on the ground.
Yeah, and look what Andrade did to Claudia Gaudelha.
Exactly.
Claudia Gaudelha is a rough customer, and Andrade just just outworked her.
Exactly.
Man, yeah, this is the worst possible matchup for Karolina.
I mean, maybe she can find. It's crazy. I think of Kowalkievicz actually does her best work in the clinch, but as soon as she gets it there, we've seen Andrade just manhandle people. So I don't know, man. I think this is a terrible, terrible style matchup for Kowalkievicz. She might get finished.
Yeah, I agree. I would not be surprised if she gets finished. Let's see what the odds are for this fight. I'm kind of curious. I'm gonna pull this up quick.
Let's see. Andrade is like minus 425, and Kowalkievicz, the comeback is plus 340.
I can't disagree with that. Again, I think it's a terrible stylistic matchup for her. Yeah, and again, you got to think the winner of this is going to get that shot at Rose. I don't know. I haven't heard any rumblings of Rose. Any fights in the works for her. Who's the number one? Is Joanna still ranked number one?
Yes, but obviously they're not going to run that fight back anytime soon.
No. So, and is Andrade too?
Yep. Joanna, Andrade, Gaudelha, Kowalkievicz in that order.
Okay. Yeah. So obviously the winner of this fight is going to get a title shot. Yeah. That again, Andrade, I think is going to run right through her.
Yeah, and we talked about this before. Or at least I've talked about it. That those top three, Rose, Joanna, and Andrade, might all be able to like beat each other. You know what I mean? Like the way the styles match up. It's like I think Rose is always going to beat Joanna. I think Joanna is always going to beat Andrade, and I think Andrade probably could beat Rose just with her pressure.
I would honestly, I would favor Andrade over Rose.
Like
honestly.
those top three always are just kind of in a merry-go-round of who's the champion type of deal. Could be.
Right. So rounding out the main card, we have Abdul Razak Al Hassan taking on Nico Price. Fun fight, for sure. A fun fight. These are both fighters that have a lot of hype behind them. Nico Price was undefeated, lost to Vicente Luque by Darce choke. Vicente Luque is a stud, man. If you haven't been off topic, but if you haven't been watching that guy fight, check him out. His last fight too. Do you remember his last fight when he knocked out Randy Brown? I'm trying to remember the sequence, but it was something like he was
on his back and had the guy's head trapped somehow, right?
Dude, he went for like a leg lock or something, and then like he hooked his foot around Brown's like neck to hold him in place and just like pounded him out with hammer fist. That was crazy.
An innovator.
Yeah, and taking on Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who had a ton of hype behind him. I mean, he's finished all of his fights. His only loss is to Amari Akhmedov. He's coming off those two fights with Sabah Homasi. The first fight, wasn't there a bunch of controversy around it?
Yeah, it was like
a really weird TKO.
Al Hassan was flurrying punches and Homasi dropped for a takedown and the ref thought he was knocked unconscious.
Yeah, but then they ran it back and
yeah, he was fine.
He smoked him. So, big fight here between two up-and-coming prospects. It should be a fun one.
Yeah, I think this will be all action. Especially like Nico Price, I feel like is always in super fun, kind of gritty fights. And Al Hassan is a top-tier athlete, like super powerful guy. And a pretty good wrestler, I think. But look at his fucking record. I'm looking at his record now. 7-0. His first 7 fights were 7 first round knockouts. 7, and his longest fight in his first 7 fights was 1:26. Holy shit.
Crazy.
So he is
I think I'm leaning towards Nico Price, honestly.
He's fought the better competition. And I think is probably more well-rounded, just not quite as much of a dangerous finisher.
Explosive. Yeah, exactly. But that should be a fun one.
I agree.
So, dude, this preliminary FX card it's
like the hardcore
stacked.
fans' delight. Because there's no huge names, but if you know these guys, you're pumped for these fights. Yeah.
This whole card is pretty stacked, honestly, man. Holy shit. So the prelims main events or featured fight is Carla Esparza taking on Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez is a female to keep your eyes on. She's a world medalist in wrestling. She is now 6-0 in her MMA career. She won the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, you know what Tatiana Suarez is going to do. She's going to come in. She's going to take you down. She's going to beat you up on the mat and, either look for a submission or look to pound you out. She is absolutely huge for the weight class. She's super tall, super lengthy, and just a really sick grappler. Taking on the former champ, Carla Esparza. Just a big size difference here. Carla's tiny. Carla's like, 5 foot or 5'1". Carla's a wrestler herself. And, I've always kind of like gotten Carla about her power and her striking. But, dude, she fought Claudia Gaudelha in the striking in her last fight. Fought her toe-to-toe and actually outlanded and held her own against Claudia, which I really did not expect. But I just think she's physically, she's up against it in this fight. Tatiana is just a physical specimen. She's a great grappler. She knows what she wants to do in there. Tough fight for Claudia here.
Yeah, and I think the bookmakers on this fight are a little off. Because I think they need to show a little bit more respect to Carla Esparza. Suarez is a minus 550 favorite with the comeback on Esparza at plus 425, which because
that's a bit steep, man.
I agree with everything you said, and I do think Esparza is up against it physically here. But Tatiana Suarez, especially if you don't count the tough fights, she's only had 6 pro fights, and you better believe Esparza is has that veteran savvy now. Her striking is coming along really well. I actually thought I scored the fight. I scored Esparza's fight against Gaudelha in favor of Esparza. Because if you remember, she rocked her on her feet. She made Gaudelha do the stanky leg from a fucking punch. So you better believe that if Suarez, it'll be interesting to see what if Suarez cannot get a takedown right away. Maybe Esparza can piece her up on the feet.
I agree, man. Like I said, that Claudia fight, Carla blew my mind in that fight with her striking. I think she hurt Claudia twice in that fight, dude.
Yeah.
Definitely once she had Claudia rocked on the stanky leg. I mean, she just did well. And before that, she beat Cynthia Calvillo, which a lot of people did not expect. And Cynthia Calvillo herself is a good grinder, a good grappler. But again, I just think physically, size-wise, I just think Suarez is just going to be a little bit too much for Claudia. I think she's going to grind her out. Definitely don't think she's going to finish her, but tough matchup for Carla. I think she's going to get grinded out here.
Yeah, and her problem is also kind of maybe she'll look at Gaudelha fight and have a little bit more faith in her boxing. But if you remember in that fight, she hurt Claudia and then still went to her takedowns. And I kind of feel like Esparza might try to take down Suarez here, and I don't think that's going to end particularly well.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And if Tatiana Suarez wins, that's a player at 115. She's new. Not new, I should say. She's a fresh face. And a win here is going to jump her right into that mix. What is Tatiana ranked right now?
She's number 9.
6?
Number 9. Yeah.
9?
I mean, 115 is pretty stacked because you got Esparza above her. Tisha Torres is number 5. Michelle Watterson is number 7. I would pick Suarez to beat her today. Yeah.
Felice Herrig, maybe.
Number 8.
Yeah, Michelle Watterson's way too small for that division, especially fighting a girl like Tatiana Suarez. Yeah, I think a win for Suarez really puts her up there in that, probably that title picture, honestly. Maybe one fight away.
100%. She's right in that mix.
Bantamweight action, Aljamain Sterling taking on Cody Stamann. It's a really fun fight. Cody Stamann's a guy that a lot of people don't know about, but you should know about. Coming off the biggest win of his career over Brian Caraway. Prior to that, he beat Tom Duquesnoy, who a lot of people were super high on. Got a couple big names on his resume. He's 17-1. Taking on Aljamain Sterling. Big step up for him, but it's going to be a fun one. Super excited for this one.
Yeah, I think we'll see some really fun grappling exchanges. If they're two totally different styles on the feet, Aljamain has that like weird kind of long kicking style, and Stamen is more traditional boxer. But I think both these guys will want to wrestle, test their grappling against the other guy. And I honestly don't know. I think I'm siding with Sterling just because he has more big fight experience against higher level opponents. But who knows, man? Maybe Stamen will be able to put him on his butt because he was able to take down Brian Caraway.
Their wrestling might neutralize each other out, and it might turn into a striking battle. And in that sense, who do you give the advantage to?
I think Stamen, because Aljamain Sterling has never really turned that corner where he looks comfortable on the feet. He knows what he's doing, I think, pretty well enough. If that makes sense. Like he knows what he's doing about, what he's doing at any given moment in a fight. He knows his strategy, but I don't know if it's enough for him to win on the feet against a competent striker.
Yeah, agreed. Stamen's a short, compact dude with a really nice, tight boxing. Should be a fun one, man. I think I'm going with the underdog here. I'm assuming Stamen's the underdog. I'm picking Cody Stamen. Close split decision, which would be his third in a row, but I think he gets it done. What are the odds in this fight? Do you know off the top of your head, or do you have it pulled up?
He's a very slight underdog at plus 115.
Yeah,
so it's basically an even fight. I actually think that's fair.
Because again, like you said, Aljamain has fought much better competition. Assunção, Barao, Marlon Moraes, Brett Johns, Mitsugaki. He's fought a lot of top level dudes. Fought Caraway, who he lost to. But I think Stamen is one of those dudes that nobody knows about that is just an absolute stud on the come up.
Yeah, if he wins here, it's a great win for him. I just think Sterling's going to win a few more of those like positional battles. He's such a funky, like long, lanky grappler to deal with. But we'll see, man. It's a great fight. Like I said when we started talking about the prelims, this whole prelim card is kind of like the hardcore fans' delight because Cody Stamen is a great guy to watch.
Absolutely. We got another one coming up too. Bantamweight division. Jimmy Rivera looking to bounce back after his, devastating loss to Marlon Moraes, taking on John Dodson, who's always a tough out for anybody. Again, big fight for Rivera, but a smart fight for him, honestly. You bounce back against a dude that's been in there with the best of the best. Dodson, his first fight since March, he beat Pedro Munoz in his last fight, Pedro Munoz is a guy that's everybody's high on right now, especially after that war with Brett Johnson in the last fight. He lost to Marlon Moraes by split decision, lost to John Lineker by split decision, had the 2 fights with Mighty Mouse. It's a tough fight for Jimmy Rivera, especially coming off that Moraes loss, because John Dodson, as small and as compact as he is, he packs a shit ton of power. I don't know, man. This is a tough one. Who do you favor here?
I like Dodson, and he's actually an underdog. I think
that's a nice bet.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Rivera is a little too slow. Like he's a very smart pretty strong defensive fighter. So I don't think he's going to get hit cleanly a ton by Dodson, but I think Dodson will be able to dart in and out, like land enough kind of not pot shots because it's not really what he does, kind of like a stick and move. I think Dodson will be able to do enough of that to earn a decision. But you absolutely bring up a good point that Rivera is coming off a just brutal knockout. He's had a bunch of fights. Yeah,
33 seconds.
Dodson is always a power threat, but I do think Rivera is just generally speaking a little too slow here. I suppose
Dodson's a tricky southpaw too.
He might try to pressure Dodson, but Dodson also kind of has a habit of dropping split decisions. For whatever reason, a lot of times his style does not sit well with certain judges. So, but I think skill wise, Dodson's the better fighter. I think speed wise, Dodson's the better fighter. But who knows? Rivera has good kind of tricky counters sometimes.
I tend to favor Dodson as well. I think he has good power, and he's tough to hit. He's got great movement. He's really in and out. Tough to get a hold of, especially if you try to grapple him. He's really hard to take down. He's got good get up ability. I favor Dodson. Yeah, I favor Dodson here. I think he's gonna be able to pop shot, hit Jimmy Rivera enough. Again, not pop shot, but I think he's gonna be in and out, hit Rivera enough to take a close decision. Who knows if they give it to him split, but I think Dodson takes it here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it'll be a super fun, super high-paced, fast fight. Dodson's always fun to watch.
Agreed. Charles Byrd, Darren Stewart is the first card of the preliminary fights. I mean the FX card. Looking at the Fight Pass prelims, we got two guys, Jim Miller, Diego Sanchez, who are in the tail end of their career. Diego making his return to welterweight, taking on Craig White. Diego needs a win, man. Really needs a win. He's at the end of it for sure. Craig White is not an easy fight for him. But fuck, dude, I'd love to see him. love to see him get a win here and just call it quits. But Diego's nuts, man. I don't even think with a win he'd call it quits. He was saying in some interview the other day he still wants to be the champion,
which is crazy. Because man, dude, I'm looking at his record and reminding myself of the Matt Brown KO elbow,
the Hellbow that we missed because the shit fucking. God.
Yeah, I remember that was a great moment. If people don't know, is watching that knockout live got botched, but yeah.
I mean, his last three losses have been by stoppage. All in the first round. Diego Sanchez has always been known as a guy with a great chin, tough as nails, but that chin has deteriorated. Not to say he's not as tough as nails, but and you got to look like he's had 11 losses in his career, which is crazy. Remember he was on that crazy dude, he went like 17, 18, 19 wins in a row before he lost. And he has had some really fortunate decision wins in his career. That record could even look uglier than it is. Man, he's got to think about hanging him up here if he does win.
He might. Somebody has to.
And if he does lose.
Yeah, somebody has to get into his ear, though, because he definitely is not sounding like the type of guy who wants to retire anytime soon, which is rough. But, I guess he's going to do what he's going to do. But, yeah, he's almost a 2-1 underdog here against Craig White.
God, I hope
like
he
to
wins,
see that.
Man.
Yeah.
I really do. And then we got Jim Miller taking on Alex White. Jim Miller's had a rough go about it lately, but I think Jim Miller is in a better spot in his career than Diego Sanchez. And you look at the guys that Jim Miller's fought. He's lost his last 4 fights, but even before, he lost to Diego, and that was another weird decision where I thought should have won, but he's fought Michael Chiesa recently, Thiago Alves, who he beat, Dustin Poirier, Anthony Pettis, Francisco Trinaldo, Dan Hooker. Got finished by Dan Hooker, but I mean, he's fighting studs still. And for the most part, he's been in these fights. You look at that Dustin Poirier fight. He fought Dustin Poirier in 2017, majority decision. Fight could have went either way. He hung in there with Pettis. Trinaldo's not an easy go. Dan Hooker, I mean, obliterated him with that knee, sadly. But and that was tough. That was in Dan Miller's home state of New Jersey. But I think Dan Miller's a little bit better off than Diego. But again, he's got to think about hanging him up too pretty soon.
I think he's pretty reasonable. That the Miller brothers own a gym. I think he will happily retire when it's the time. But I actually think this is a fight he should win.
I agree.
I think he should be able to take down Alex White and show him what a real grappler is like. But who knows? Maybe Jim Miller's chin is totally shot. But I mean, you brought up a good point that it was just last year he was in that absolutely crazy fight with Dustin Poirier. He's only been knocked out once in that stretch, that 4-fight stretch. So, I think it's a fight he should win, and I think it's a fight he will win.
Yeah, man, I agree, and I hope both of them win. None of these guys, and we talked about it a little bit not too long ago with, or actually last week with Jake Ellenberger. We wanted to see him get that fairy tale ending, and it usually doesn't happen. So we'll see if these guys actually get it. But you got anything else for this 228 card?
I don't think so, man. Looking forward to talking about what all happens next week.
Agreed. Really quick before we go, dude, did you see all the craziness with Donald Cerrone and Jackson's, or did you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast with Donald Cerrone?
So I haven't listened to it, but I've, I read, well, I was on Twitter while it was happening. So I real time saw people's reactions and, read subsequent articles kind of breaking it down.
So I'm not a big Joe Rogan. I'm a Joe Rogan fan, but I'm not a fan of his podcast most of the time. Like I can't do the whole conspiracy theory things. It just drives me crazy. But when he has MMA guys on or he talks about MMA, I love it. Dude, this Donald Cerrone podcast was amazing. And I hear that I heard at least that he took it down, which is kind of weird. But
I think he took it down and then like they edited out a certain part and then re-uploaded it.
Okay. Because, I mean, Donald Cerrone goes in, man. He goes in on the Jackson camp. And basically he says that they're all for money and they're just letting random people, come in and spar. And it used to be a really tight-knit, private group. And they basically sided with Mike Perry over him. And Donald Cerrone is like one of the OGs of Jackson Wink. And they sided with Perry, who's pretty new to Jackson Wink. Not pretty new. He's new to Jackson Wink. I believe the fight with Paul Felder was his first fight. So yeah, that boiled over, man. He's no longer with Jackson Wink. Now he's fighting Mike Perry, who is now with Jackson Wink. Some craziness. He also told this crazy story about how he almost drowned in this like cave when he was cave diving. And I mean that was nuts. If it's still on iTunes or whatever, go listen to it.
As far as I know, it's all up. I think the story was that he told a story about like smuggling like mushrooms or drugs or something into Shanghai.
No, he was talking about DMT. He talked about
maybe
his
they
DMT
took that
trip,
down.
which was nuts, dude. It was hilarious. It was crazy.
But I think from what I understand, like he's been pretty checked out of the actual Jackson Wink like gym for quite a while because he has his own ranch and training facility out there. Like from what I understand, he had not been like regularly going to the gym. But yeah, I mean him going in deep and just dissing, just cutting all ties with Jackson Wink was something.
Yeah, he goes ham, and then basically they came back, or at least Winklejohn came back saying like Cerrone's just in it for himself and he's selfish, and that's about it. So big falling out there. I can't wait for that Cerrone Perry fight. I hope it stays together. It's gonna be crazy. That's like a Just Bleed fan's dream. I can't wait to break that one down. Also, that happened this weekend, I guess this weekend drama wise was dude, did you see Chael Sonnen going nuts on John Jones?
He might still be doing it on Twitter. He might still be dropping those
is.
little, like he's spreading them out, which is just a nice kiss of the fingers. That's a beautiful way to trash talk somebody, is just spread out your tweets over a full day.
So I missed this, but apparently like John Jones said that Chael Sonnen's trash talk sucks or something like that, right?
I can't remember what it was, but he didn't come at Chael really hard. He basically, no, he said, I think McGregor is the best trash talker out there because there's a hint of truth to what he says. And he didn't like Chael's style apparently.
And then for like 2 days, Chael just went on this crazy tirade where he's just like, it's like making like 3 posts an hour, just trash talking John Jones. It's hilarious. Dude, his one today, I'm not gonna pull it up, but I'm just like kind of paraphrasing, but basically he said like Fedor is like a pale white clump that John Jones snorts. Oh man, Chael is great. I love it. Just pointless MMA drama that I love.
Super pointless. But did you see John clapped back? I think with a few different things. Well, no, John was involved in Twitter insults with DC recently. John Jones, we've talked about insults and clapbacks are on point.
Yeah, his Twitter is hilarious. He's one of the best follows out there. But yeah, he's been going nuts, man. Oh man, I love it.
Hey man, UFC 230 right around the corner. Hoping for John Jones.
I still think there's a good fight. Good chance that he's gonna fight on that, man.
They gotta get to it, announce it soon. Maybe they're just waiting to sign the papers or something, but make it happen.
Agreed. What else, man? We got anything else going on?
I think that's it. No PFL, no Bellator. Just
check the Combat Docket calendar for that.
Yeah, just the UFC this weekend.
Agreed. Hey, how was Invicta this past weekend? I know you're there. We were tweeting.
Oh yeah,
had a good time.
Pretty phenomenal. It was one of the probably the best overall show in terms of quality of fights that I've been to since I've been covering it. Yeah, so some good stuff, some good finishes. Pearl Gonzalez, man, keeps on rolling. She is now 3-0 in 2018, and I'm almost positive Invicta's going to give her a title shot.
Yeah, she looks better and better each fight too. She deserves that. She fought some studs in the UFC, and she's really looking good outside of it. Possible podcast guest hopefully soon.
Yeah,
I know you got an interview with her.
I've been getting interviews with her. I'll see if we can make that happen. I'm sure she's actually a super. I mean, fans like her because she has a good social media presence and she's good on the mic and all that. But she actually is, in the two brief interviews I've had with her, she's pretty like thoughtful and interesting to talk to.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Look, a good time. You put out a breakdown, or I should say a review of the card with some interviews, so check that out on Combat Docket. Yeah, that's all I got, dude.
Yeah, same here.
So enjoy the fights this weekend, and we'll talk to you all next week.